Pump it up, pump it up.
Trae.
Come on, come on.
With Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
It's the day with
This is the day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peeps that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, cause it's the day with Trae.
Grand Rising, everyone. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I want to welcome you to a wonderful Wednesday. This is going to be an exciting episode where I get to dive into the African-centered Ancestral Healing Conference with Dr. Orisade Awodola as she guides us through what folks can expect at this year's conference coming up later on this month. And also she plugs some of the things that readers can expect from her new book, African-Centered Ancestral Healing. So I'm so glad that I'll be joining her later on in the show. She'll be joining from StreamYard, link out there in the ethos. So I'm so glad that she'll be able to join us. But of course, you know, y'all, it is the top of the show. So it's a great time to tag and share this stream right here. Please participate with us, y'all. Go ahead and help us grow by tagging and sharing this stream with folks who you feel could benefit from a daily dose of dopeness right here on the Day with Trae. If you can't watch our TV show, our streamed show here, don't worry. You can always listen to us anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Just search Converge Media Network and A Day with Trae. You'll find me on whichever platform is your favorite. There's a ton of them, or 200 of them, which is more than a ton. Go ahead and search for us and you'll find us there. Well, I just want to say, before I get into it with Dr. Orisade Awodola, that, you know, the work that she's doing is so important for so many of us who are still trying to figure out what our heritage, our lineage, our ancestry. You know, some of this means that we get to dive into some of the practices and cultures that really existed in those ancient times. And it's beautiful to understand that a lot of this work is coming back to the light. There's a lot of folks who are understanding more about their chakras, their inner divinity, how to be a divine person. These are some of the ideals that permeated society in ancient times. And y'all have heard me talk about it. You know, earlier this week, we had Haru here talking about chi shaking and chi breathing. And a lot of that is really going back to some of those ancient practices. You know, we are, as a society, just not very healthy, right? It's, you know, we are driven to be on our phones, to be entertained with TV and even stuff like this, what you find on the internet, streaming. There is so many different things that are individualized for us to consume as entertainment. And it sometimes can keep us away from some of the things that are really important to establish in our lives. And so I'm telling y'all, I'm really grateful that we have the Ancestral Healing Conference. And this year, we're going to be bringing back Shechem Ra'un Ephraim the first. Y'all, I've interviewed him before, but he will also be here to talk about some of those practices and how they're coming back in the droves with the Ma'at 11 Laws course. Now, thousands of folks across the country and the globe have been experiencing that. And it's a beautiful thing to understand that people are getting what they need. You know, as we are utilizing technology more and more every day, the opportunity to be connected to things that are going to benefit you positively in your life and in the lives of your family and those around you is so key. So I'm really grateful that we have phenomenal folks who have utilized their life energy and their life force to bring these practices back to the full front so that we can have access to them. We can bring them into our lives. You know, for me, meditation was new. Over 4 years ago, I was one who didn't really understand it necessarily. I had to do some deep research and a deep dive into how to meditate properly. And I needed the guidance, you know, right? I wasn't someone who wanted to scour the internet to figure it out. I really appreciate being able to read a specific series of books that were given to me to say, hey, this is where you can find this knowledge. I didn't have to do that, right? I was able to scour the internet to make sure, hey, is this true? What are the other references here? What other resources are out there? But ultimately, I had a great foundation to start to dive into this. And it really started with the Ancestral Healing Conference. So up next, we got Dr. Orisade Awodola joining me. We're going to be learning more and talking about what this year's African-centered Ancestral Healing Conference is bringing to the Pacific Northwest. Y'all do not want to miss this. This was my beginning to my own journey of my spiritual development. And I'm telling y'all, I'm excited that she's joining us. Stay tuned right after this short break. You're watching The Day with Trae.
What's up, Seattle, Rose City, Big Boise, Spokane, T-Town? I see you every weekend on Back to Besa. And of course, I'm bringing you stories from all over the PNW. You already know your girl's keeping it real everywhere I go. And of course, you can stream current episodes right now on the Fox Local app, available on your smart TV.
You on my mind a lot, don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my pocket spot. Yeah, that's babe, need you every day. You seem like the barging down, got my heart no barging in. From the bed to the floor to the couch, might wake the neighbors up, but you then break you out. In the end, we gon' make a child, then we gon' hit the show. Part 2, we don't need no pause. Miss me, we gon' get tipsy, don't need a power shot.
Copy my steel, face the fact that. Copy my steel, face the fact that.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Day with Trae. Joining me right now is Dr. Orisade Awodola. Hi, Dr. Orisade. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. It's great to be with you and to connect with you once again. You have been so dedicated to bring ancestral healing, African-centered thought to the community. And for those who may not be familiar with all of your great work, please give us a brief description of the ways you've been doing that over all these years.
Okay. Well, I'd like to start off with saying thanks for having me. And what started off as ancestral healing is now Africa-centered ancestral healing. And it all started with the curious part of myself wanting to know my family lineage. And as a cultural psychologist, I learned a lot of things. And as a therapist in DC for 8 years, I learned a lot of things. So I came back to the PNW, and this is our 10th anniversary celebrating the Africa-centered Ancestral Healing Conference. And ancestral healing itself is just ancestral healing itself is just a way to connect with your lineage. So what makes this conference coming up next on the 16th sacred is that I'm stepping down. Someone else in the community will be doing it, and that'll be announced at the conference. It's our 10th year anniversary. We have dynamic speakers, some that have not been here, and we have community involvement. So we have a skit that is going to celebrate my 3G, I'll call him grandfather, Dr. James W.C. Pennington, who was the first Black man and a slave at that time. He was African, to get a divinity degree, an honorarium degree from Yale University. And that's what how the conference opens Saturday morning at 10 with the skit. The young man who headed the Pennington Legacy Group at Yale is an alumni at Yale, and he's only 23. He's going to play my grandfather. And we have family members coming from other parts. So this conference is different from the rest of them. And it will be at Langston Hughes.
Yeah.
And, Trae, that I'll come full circle with this. And he, I don't want to give away all that he did because it'll be addressed at the conference. But we all have a story. And the difference between ancestral healing and therapy is therapy, I've said this over and over again, it allows us to vent, to come to a diagnosis of what the issue is. But ancestral healing is working on the divine within, which is something that Brother Heru does very well and in the community with the Ancestral Society, and Shakam is one of the speakers. And so that ought to be pretty profound in itself,
Yeah, absolutely.
He's going to do a workshop as well. And then we have Olatunji drummers, Babatunde Olatunji drummers coming. And they're going to do the drumming. And so is our own here, Cherie. And the name of their group, I always get it mixed up, so I don't want to, but we know who Cherie is. And they're going to play. So to have it at Langston Hughes itself is touching to me. I'm overwhelmed right now. I've never done a conference like this. And I'm just so grateful that you've given me the opportunity to talk about what it entails, because tickets are still on sale at Eventbrite, and people can go to the website. And then my book, This Is It, Africa-Centered Ancestral Healing, it actually builds on my grandfather's book, The Fugitive Blacksmith.
Well, this is what I wanted to, but before you get into the book, I want to share some personal connection, because through the work of you and ancestral healing, I found the works of Ra'un Ephraim I, who I've interviewed here also on the Day with Trae. And earlier this week, we had Haru Chayez Amen on, who was talking about mindfulness. He always comes on first Monday of the month for Mindfulness Monday. And so I was able to really find a path for my own spiritual development and growth because of your work specifically. And so before you got into the book, I really wanted to hone in a bit on the Ancestral Healing Conference, now the African-Centered Ancestral Healing Conference, because it really does bring the opportunity to us here in the Pacific Northwest to connect with those deep roots of our ancestry and our African ancestry, to be specific. So I got to ask you, how do you stay connected and plugged in with the phenomenal speakers and presenters that you bring for this conference?
That's a great question. And I'll say this, when you mention Ra'un Nefer Amen, my journey started with him. And that was in 1995 or 96. And I was part of the Ancestral Society, and he named me Hatshepsut. I learned from him to go within and work on the divine self. As you know, in our set, when you meet people, you say, Hatepu, how's your person? So I learned that my person wasn't me, but that was a greater part in me And that part led me to genealogy. Now, I had heard all the oral stories in our family for years. I didn't care about that. I was young and I was kicking it. I will be 70 next Saturday. Okay? It's time to do something different. I mean, I have a Pennington project. I am so grateful that I've had the opportunity to walk with my ancestors, stay connected with my colleagues and friends that support this work, primarily Dr. Myers, Dr. Moore, the ones you see coming are African-centered psychologists. We're not the mainstream because we know all our roots. I'm going to say, out of the darkness came the light with Baba Smalls and Kwabena. It tells the story of where we came from, the 25th dynasty. And when you know that, it doesn't matter. I've been blessed to understand my roots in Nigeria as Yoruba and in Haiti from the homie and Sierra Leone on my mother's side. I mean, it just, it's overwhelming. Dr. Bellows, I don't know if you know her, she worked with Ancestral Voices. And once you start the path, they speak. We are our ancestors. They rise up in us. That's what they meant about, and the dead will rise again. They're rising all over the world. If you look at Africa, and then you know what, Trae? When I first went to Africa, hit that red dirt, I knew, my soul remembered. I couldn't do it till I went to the slave castle, and I said, my question is in ancestral healing, how did they survive?
Yeah.
Because we're receiving people. And everybody, if you go deep enough into your family tree, that is what divides us, is that we don't know. That's why this conference is about when identity meets purpose.
Yeah.
When
This is why, well,
Yes.
no, I just want to say this is why I appreciate the work that you have done to dedicate your time and your knowledge to making sure that we have those connections here. You've utilized your own personal network to really expand on that and bring it forth for the community here. Whereas for many folks, just like myself, we didn't have a purview to it otherwise, right? We didn't know enough to of how to figure out what those connections look like. So I'm so glad to hear you say that you're talking about this is personal connections that you've had to these amazing doctors who are doing, African centered, psychology and therapy, and those things are really brand new for so many folks. They are still probably like, what does that mean? But I love that you really utilize your network to really bring out this opportunity for all of us to learn and grow. And when you talk about your great great grandfather, that is a story in and of itself. So I really also love that you are starting with an amazing skit to commemorate his life, to showcase his legacy and bring folks into that understanding as well. As you've learned about your own lineage, now you're really encouraging others to find theirs. What are some of those things that you're really excited for as you step down and you pass this baton on and you help out more from the background? Tell us about some of the things you're excited to start working on yourself outside of this conference now that you are passing it on to someone else.
The main thing is I'm passing it on to an amazing young lady who's young. That's number one. So she will be able to reach the younger generation. The other thing, as I remain on the advisory board, is that I'm moving into the area of the Pennington Project, which is a film. And the film is going to showcase his life. I'm going to be doing different projects as we're expanding into Arizona. So you'll hear more about that. Those are the things I'm excited about. I've come full circle with ancestral healing as it is now. And that's why it's Africa centered ancestral healing, because we've been so fractaled from Africa in so many ways. And I'd like to add, this is what I'm really excited. I've never had someone come and talk about Black theology, but Dr. Dwight Hopkins, who is a scholar and the director of Black theology at the University of Chicago, he's a protege of James Cone. He's going to talk about liberation and Black theology. That means the church. There's nothing wrong with the church, but it has kept us in bondage in a lot of different ways, not all of them, because we do have some. Well, we saw what happened to Jeremiah Wright. Remember when President Barack Obama, and they tried to bring him down because Reverend Wright was an African-centered minister, preacher. And anyone in the church that doesn't follow the European scriptures of the Bible is ostracized. It's a corporation. It's a business. Just look how they operate. And that was a big way to control us from even relating to Africa. I'm Black, but I ain't from Africa. I know someone very close to my family that said, "You're doing all that African stuff." Well, that's you too.
Yeah.
And so
I mean,
the part.
Oh, well, yeah, the knowledge, and this is why I think it's so important. We just recently had Asher Kwesi out here,
Yes.
who is, phenomenal in really showcasing, the connection between today, what we understand in, religion and in society, and how it traces back to Africa and to ancient ancestors then. And he talks about the books in stone, right? And what was inside the pyramids, all of the hieroglyphs that are there, all of the writings, which they call, the Meduna Tear, really, all of that work. He was connecting it to so much of what we understand today, and just really blowing the minds of folks who were in the audience. But it's great to know that, someone there at this conference is also going to be diving into that topic, because you're right. It doesn't often get the light of day to really dive into that. And I know Ron Nefer Amen the first with the Sarset Societies really brought back a lot of those ancient practices with spiritual development that our ancestors knew. So this is amazing. This conference is happening coming up, on the middle of March. So we'll make sure we get into the details. But before we do that, you brought your book out, and I gotta ask you about the book. Tell us what folks and readers can expect when they buy this book, and give us a reason why we need to be buying it. Let them know what they can read in there that'll be enlightening for them.
Yes. And this is piggybacking on our conversation. I have many other deeply interesting particulars touching our family history, but I have detailed as many as prudence will permit on account of those members who are yet south of the Mason and Dixon's lines. I have faith in the hand that has dealt with our family so strangely that all our remaining members will in time be brought together, and then the case may merit a reviewed and enlarged edition of this book, The Fugitive Blacksmith, when other important matter will be inserted. Dr. James W.C. Pennington, 1850. That is what the book is. Not about him. It's about how we heal, the roads we've traveled, and bringing Africa-centered ancestral healing into an academic discipline under the discipline of root psychology.
Wow.
So the book is a book about mental health, mental dysfunctions, how we get through it, how we heal. They tell me it's a very good book.
Well, this is amazing because I think there's also a lot of folks who are looking for the knowledge that you have poured into that book. And, you know, as folks are trying to figure out why aren't these other strategies working for me, you know, to embrace, again, that ancestral way and that path is really something that is an answer, I think, to a lot of folks who are seeking it. So thank you so much for pouring into the book. And thank you for continuing to pour in to our community in this way. And I'm glad to know that you will still be closely connected to the African Centered Ancestral Healing Conference on the advisory board. You said the tickets are on Eventbrite. Please give us all the details. I know it's going to be there at Langston Hughes. Love that it's going to be here in the neighborhood. Tell us all the details for folks to get their tickets for the African Centered Ancestral Healing Conference happening later on this month.
Okay, you can go to Eventbrite, but you can also go to our website, www.iactnow0119.com, and you can click on the button, get tickets, and it'll take you to Eventbrite. Tickets right now are 2 for 1 because this is the last conference I will do. And it's going to be a big celebration. I also like to add that Ashley McGirt is also speaking at this conference. And we know that she has a conference coming up in July. And what we aim to do is bridge the gap between clinical and spiritual. So I just want to put that out there for people to understand how serious we look at mental health conditions in our community.
Absolutely. Well, I love hearing that. I can't wait to be there to partake in all of the amazing presentations and speakers. Thank you again for all the work you're doing. Dr. Orisade Awodola joining me once again. So great to be with you.
Thank you. That's it?
That's it. Great job. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Trae. And so I look forward to seeing you. I'm going to send you the schedule. That's
Okay.
what I'm working on. And then you can see what's what, because Dr. Hardiman will be your she's going to do what she does every year. She's coming from Mexico to be at the conference. So I told her, you do the MC, and she said, oh, great. Oh, that's so wonderful. Because March is going to Africa. So
yeah, well, I can't wait. I will be in touch with you soon.
Okay, have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
What's up, Seattle, Rose City, Big Boise, Spokane, T-Town? I see you every weekend on Back to Besa. And of course, I'm bringing you stories from all over the PNW. You already know your girl's keeping it real everywhere I go. And of course, you can stream current episodes right now on the Fox Local app, available on your smart TV.
Africatown Plaza is our latest affordable housing development project. It's 126 units of affordable housing over community commercial space.
It's the first time in my career, and I've been doing this for 10 years, that I was able to design for people who look like me.
Africatown Plaza is a beacon of hope.
Africatown Plaza is a love letter to the community.
Seattle Opera presents X, the life and times of Malcolm X. The story of one of the most misunderstood figures in U.S. history comes to McCall Hall for an exceptional night at the opera. Pulitzer Prize-winning composer Anthony Davis produces an American classic with influences from classical music, jazz, pop, blues, and more. Don't miss X, the life and times of Malcolm X, February 24th through March 9th at McCall Hall. Details at seattleopera.org.
You on my mind a lot, don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my pocket spot. Yeah, that's babe, need you every day. You seem like the barging down, got my heart no barging in. From the bed to the floor to the couch, might wake the neighbors up, break you in and break you out. In the end, we gon' make a child. Then we gon' hit the shower. Part 2, we don't need no pause. Miss me, we gon' get tipsy, don't need a power shot.
Copy my steel. Face the fact that. Copy my steel. Face the fact that.
Even if you don't love, carry
Welcome back, y'all, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. What a phenomenal episode today. Huge shout out to Dr. Orisade Awodola for bringing this conference back. And literally, she said, look, this is the last year, y'all, so it's a celebration. Make sure you get your tickets today. This is happening later on this month in the middle of March. So I'm excited because I think it's the 15th, 16th, 17th, y'all. You're going to be experiencing a powerhouse of presentations from folks who are pouring in to not only bringing these practices and traditions back to the forefront, but also showcasing to you how you can do them today, how you get to incorporate them into your lives. You know, this is for those who are really seeking that connection to our deep ancestry, you know, from an African-centered perspective. And Africa was the beginning of civilization. Many of us are really understanding that now. And so the ideas of what they had then and how it can impact us today is real. I'm a real proponent of it, y'all. So I'm so glad that this is an opportunity for you all to get your tickets today. She said it's 2 for 1. Make sure you go to the website or look for it on Eventbrite and get your tickets to this amazing conference today. Huge shout out to her and all of her work for pouring in to this amazing node of mental health and healing that we all can benefit from and participate in. So I'm encouraging y'all to get your tickets today. But I'm also really excited because as someone who has been learning how to meditate and exemplifying it for my children and for my family, I can tell you this from a personal perspective. There's nothing like connecting to something that was ancestral, you know, and for me, I did not know, y'all, that this is what our people were doing back then and that my people were participating in these kinds of practices. And when I explain it to my children, I say to them, this is an opportunity for us to bring it back, to do it together. So I encourage all of you who are out there seeking, this may be exactly what you're searching for. Well, thanks again, y'all, for watching. You know, I'm always inspired by the guests here today. Please find your way, as Dr. Orisade has, to be a part of the solution, y'all, because we can all benefit from it. Until tomorrow, y'all, at 11 a.m. Peace.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.